Well, let's see what our local artist, Samak Gulek, has up. Let's check it out.
My name is Helen Cloney. I work with clay. I make whatever I can imagine out of clay or whatever someone may want me to make for them, providing they have an idea. I went to Sheridan for 3 years where I studied craft and design. That was a 3-year program. I worked in a glass studio for a year to raise funds to open my first studio. And a year after that, I did open my first studio at King and Peter. And I've been doing this ever since then with the odd part-time job on the side to make ends meet. And then I moved into this place about 14 years ago. My studio space also includes living space. I think for people working with clay, it's really a good idea because there are parts of the process where you can't really walk away from the clay. It's like having a pet or a child, I guess. You start making something and then you have to wait a little while for the clay to change because clay starts off really soft and mushy, and there are points where you can work it as the clay changes. That takes time. So say you have to wait 3 hours to put a handle onto a cup, something like that. The day begins most important by making a pot of coffee, and then I'll sit and sip that for a while. And maybe I have a kiln to unload that I've fired the night before, so maybe I have to open that up and let it cool down for a while. I could be doing 2 or 3 things at the same time. I could be unloading the kiln and starting the process of a new piece. So in a way, my life is my work and my work is my life. When I get clay, it's a blend of different clays that may come from various parts of Canada, maybe the US also. And every kind of clay is different. So whatever kind of clay you're using is called a clay body, and it's made up of several different ingredients and types of clay from all over the country. Each clay has desirable properties. It may be color, it may be how it feels in your hands. They're all natural materials. They all come from the earth. They're Mother Nature's Play-Doh. It's a pretty wide range of things that I make. Some are functional, some are maybe sculptural, some are what I call doodles. What I happen to be doing today, I'm going to make some of these cups. They're going to be differently decorated from this, but they'll be the same basic shape. I'm not using a wheel or any mechanical material. It's just me and some very simple tools and the clay. I made the handles yesterday. They're now stiffened up somewhat so that they're not going to just sag down. So first of all, I'm going to make the body of the cup. So cut off a piece, lay it on the table. So it's very similar to making pastry. If you've ever made a pie in your life, you'll be familiar with this process. I cut out the shape from the pattern, pick it up, roll it, make sure it's lined here, make sure the bottom part's round, set it onto the base. Make sure the top's round. Then I'm just going to gently push. I'll attach the handle, usually opposite the seam, that way it can be used by a left or right-handed person without getting that in their mouth, right? One thing I like to do is of course use color. I tend to use a black outline on a lot of things, and I think that comes from my love of comic books when I was a kid. The other thing too that seems to be kind of a trademark with me is this overlap here. I could make this that the seam was invisible. In other words, you wouldn't see this at all, it wouldn't be there. But I kind of like that idea because I think it's evidence that it's hand-built. More than anything, it's children that seem to stop out front and, make their parents linger a little while and check out what's in the window and look at some of the details of things. And then they begin to appreciate, because we live in a world of mass-produced, gimme, gimme, gimme now, and that's not what the creative process is about at all.
I would love to go and take a pottery class sometime, maybe over the holidays. It seems like it would be very relaxing and soothing.
Casey, I'm totally coming with you. That way we can show off our awesome pottery skills. All right, Derek Walker, how are you going to help us students survive? Let's see how you can help us get through 9 more days, because I'm barely surviving at this point. Let's check it out.
there's a lot of ways that students aren't ready when they come to college. When they're in the high school experience, their instructors and teachers are constantly urging them ahead and urging them on, and you know, if they're in danger of failing because they're not doing their work properly or they're not actually achieving what the course requires them to do, you know, there's all kinds of ways to get them to advance and move on. When they get to college, all of those years where that kind of procedure has taken place turns into being a complete and utter farce.
The one thing I would suggest to new students is to make sure that you're on time, attend all your classes, and don't be like me.
When you get into college and you're an adult, you know, you got to pass courses, you've got certain requirements you have to do, certain assignments you have to do, they have to be met on time, properly done. You know, even if the assignment is interpretive, you know, it has to involve some creative and some critical thinking.
Well, I think what I would do if I was a student, I would look over all my assignments and make sure I understand what's going on with your assignment. Give yourself time. Don't leave things to the last minute, because it'll all come up and you'll run out of time. If you have a problem with the assignment, it's too late by that point. So check over your assignments before you start them. If you have any questions, talk to your professor and see if you can get them cleared up that way.
One of the things I think I would encourage students to do in being ready for college is to take responsibility for their own life and manage their time. They have to look at their time as being a very precious commodity, which is going to be the success of their, you know, of their time in school. That will help them meet their deadlines on time. They can spread their work out so that they're not cramming everything into the night before.
Be prepared is what I would say, like the Boy Scouts. Yeah, I think leaving it to the last minute. I've had students show up with their assignment, like doing it that morning, and it doesn't work.
People don't read assignments. I can't tell you how many times, 60 or 70% of the time, when a student comes to me and asks a question before the assignment's due, I'll say, "Did you read the assignment?"
Shooting it on an iPhone, which is a new one. That's the first time I've seen that happen this year. I don't think that meets our requirements, but anyway.
You're going to have to be able to develop your, you know, your skills towards what does my boss really want, instead of getting it all spelled out like they often get it in college.